At 6'9" from Chicago, Illinois, Bo Ellis. Hello again, everybody. Tommy Pippins along with Steve the Homer True and our marvelous producer, Brent Young. It is my faith with Homer and Pip. Bo Ellis was the cornerstone of Marquette's 1977 national championship in college basketball, but he is not defined by that round ball. No, he's far more than hoops. He's all about faith. He has been through difficulties. He knows hurt and pain, physical, emotional, losing a child. And yet through it all, he walks through life gracefully and touches others. And I guarantee you, he will touch you. Bo Ellis, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, we tip off with a homer.
We've talked about everything there is to talk about, except his faith. So I'm as curious as everyone else. I know I know Bo Ellis, but I don't know him well enough. So Bo, I'm curious where this starts and how you started. My faith, take it away.
Well, you kind of live and you learn, Homer. As a young person growing up on the south side of Chicago, it was a lot of people in my neighborhood that reached out to all of the kids on the block. So we could pretty much go to any family and be accepted as one of theirs. And when I was young, we had a family about one, two, three, maybe 4 buildings down from where I lived. And they had a lady named Mrs. Falls, and her grandchildren went to school with us. And she used to always have Bible class. And I kind of remember this probably 5, 6, 7 years old. So she would have a Bible class down in the basement of their duplex apartment in Inglewood in Chicago. And the key was she would get the kids from neighborhood to come down to Bible study. And at the end of Bible study, she would give out cookies. So that was our incentives to come down and listen to her and be introduced to, faith and God and how things go in life. So that's pretty much where it started. And at the young age of 6 and 7, as the years went on, her children and grandchildren and all of us were very close. So we went to school together. And as we got older, we continued to do things, like the Bible classes. And I started to go to church with them also on Sundays. My mother didn't really take us to church a whole lot. When we did go to church, my one auntie who lived in a building right around the corner from us, this was my mother's sister that was right up under her. My mother had 4 sisters, and my Aunt Lorraine was Catholic. So we also used to go to the Catholic church, which was St. Carthage Church, with my Aunt Lorraine all the time, every Sunday. So that was pretty much my introduction. And through the Miss Falls and growing up there, as we got older, we continued to go to church and we continued to do things. And she introduced me to the Moody Bible Institute when I was in grammar school. And I remember one time going to one of those conferences at the Moody Bible Institute to see a speaker. His name was Tom Skinner. And Tom Skinner was a former gang member in New York City. And when I heard Tom Skinner's story at the Moody Bible Institute, the rest is history about, how I feel about God and my blessings. And as I got older, I became better at sports and I started dealing with different people. That's how I found my calling and understood who I was and why I was who I was.
From a child faith to an adult faith, I don't think you were exactly like me. When my parents came to visit while raised a Catholic, I had to figure out where the Newman Center was to make sure I knew where we would go to church. But what's the next stage for you of my faith?
Well, the next stage was as I got older and I was playing a lot of sports, I started to understand about the blessings that I had and the gifts at a young age as a baseball player and being very good at what I did. And I think the one that really opened the doors for me is around, see, 1969, 70, when I was a freshman, sophomore in high school. We had somebody coming. I don't remember exactly who it was, but they came to myself and a lot of other high school players in the Chicago area, baseball and basketball, and they told us about the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, the FCA. And then they told us about Tom Richardson, who was, I think, a baseball player from the New York Yankees, who was the head of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So they asked us would we like to go to New York to a Fellowship of Christian Athletes conference. Now, being inner city kids never really going anywhere out of the city. When they said New York City, we thought New York, New York. Well, little that we know, the conference was held at Niagara University in Niagara Falls, New York. So they put us all on the bus, and there was a lot of players that turned out to be great players in Chicago that was on that trip. Ricky Green that played at Hirsch, Earl King that played. It was a lot of very good high school players, and we were all young. So we jumped on a Greyhound bus and we went up to Niagara Falls, New York, to the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And actually, that was our introduction into seeing what pro athletes were all about. And at that time, the Buffalo Bills were in training camp at Niagara Falls at Niagara University. And that's when we first met O.J. Simpson, Reggie McKenzie. They were all on the same campus when we were doing this big conference, but it was a life-changing experience. We didn't know what to expect. We thought we were going to a basketball camp, and it turned out when we got there, it taught us about living with others. So the first thing was that we had to room with somebody different. So I had to room with a young white kid who was young like myself. And I don't remember where he was from, but he wasn't a great, athlete like us. He didn't play high school baseball or basketball at the level that we did in Chicago. So they kind of taught us how to live with other people. And it was really the first time that I had ever lived with a white person or really had a whole lot of interaction, with white people other than the few white teachers I had at my school. So as far as having an association, with a white person talking about God and living with them for a week, that was an unbelievable experience. And we thought we were all going to be playing on the same teams and stuff. So all of us had different teams. We had different roommates. We met people from other parts of the country that lived different lives. And they had what they called the Dog Patch Olympics for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And that was a combination of all different sports. And we had teams. And my team actually won the Dog Patch Olympics. And I still have the trophy today. It says FCA, and it has a cross, and it says Dog Patch Olympics. And, just living with that young man and understanding that we were all the same. And the most important thing was that God puts us all on this earth for a reason, to live as one. And that was the most amazing experience of my life at a young age. And that's what really set the stage, for my beliefs and my faith and everything that I do in life now.
If you had to tell someone what's at the top of your faith, or as I like to ask, when you're closest to God, from FCA and from on, what best explains, if I say to you, Bo, what's at the top of the list for your relationship with God, your faith?
What I think is, well, first of all, the things that God gave me as an athlete and as a young person and knowing people, I think that was, a blessing that I realized at a young age. At a young age, I was very gifted. At pretty much everything that I did, I played baseball from 7 to 12 years old, Little League Baseball, played in high school, I played basketball, but being in sports and being gifted and being, good at a young age, looking at all the other kids my age, how much better I was at pretty much all of the things that I was able to do. And I think the other thing was my gift to be able to understand, when people were trying to teach me something and the people that the creator sent to me in life to mold me as a young man, the teachers that I had, not only in high school, but in the Chicago Park District and different places like that. The older individuals in the neighborhood that watched me as a youngster as I came up, that always put their arms around me to shed some light on, what was going to be important for me to be successful in life, starting with taking care of school, being uh, being and gracious and thankful and learning to say please and thank you. And also my mother instilling in me, even though she didn't go to church with us a lot of times, but saying your prayers and being thankful for all the things that we had. And even though I didn't have a whole lot growing up, there was a lot of other kids in the neighborhood that were a lot worse off than we were as a family. And that taught me right there that we were very special in that way, that God was touching us and leading me in a different way sometimes than a lot of the other young men and women that was coming up in the neighborhood with me.
Now you're a great college athlete, you're a pro, and now you become an adult. What's your relationship with God? It's always a part of athletes, great athletes, that I've wondered. You have the skill, but to some degree it's over and you're still very young. How was your faith a part of your life after your athletics?
Well, that was just one of those special talents I think that the Creator instilled in me, and that was that, first of all, the people that was put in my life, my high school coaches, the individuals that I dealt with growing up in the Chicago Park District, and telling me that you use sports and basketball and don't let basketball use you. So from that standpoint, I always understood that you were very gifted, and God gave you some blessings. And I was very fortunate to have two Harlem Globetrotters in my life as a young man when I was in college, Mel Davis and Leon Hillard. And Leon Hillard and Mel Davis taught me how to give back to other young individuals coming up that wanted to go where I had been and have some of the successes that I was having as a young man. So they taught me how to use my platform in the community to help others develop into better people in life. And from there, it just carried on through sports as a college player, as a pro player, always giving back, always dealing with young individuals. The two Harlem Globetrotters taught me that my platform in life was not only just to be a ball player, but to shed a lot of light on how I became successful and the roads that I was able to travel to get to where I was able to get, you know, during basketball and after and later in life, like I'm dealing with now. And I'm still learning, how to give back and getting blessings from different people to share with young people, because the thing that counts most in life is what we do for others. And God bless me, and my blessings have been able to touch others. And that's that old saying, each one must teach one. And that's how it pretty much carried on through my whole life to where I am today. And, going from being a player to being a coach, to share what I've learned, to share the blessings that other people have shared with me over a lifetime. And my calling now, I see it as my time to do for others what others had done for me in the beginning.
I ask this because I've never really had the guts to talk to you about it, because I've thought that if I ever lost a daughter as you did, that I could never accept it. I just don't know how people do it. You've done it, and I'm curious as to your faith as a part of that. To me, it's just I don't know what word to use. It's so horrible, difficult experience that I don't think anyone, and many have, should ever have to go through.
Well, it's a tough situation, and how I really looked at the whole situation is, you lose a child, and because I was a great basketball player, had a lot of successes in life, a lot of people would go, "Why me?" Well, I didn't look at it that way. As I looked at, why not me? It really just taught me that I'm just like everybody else. My family, my wife and my daughter, my aunts and, grandparents, everybody, we're like everybody else. And I used to look at it as like, why not me? And then when I lost my daughter, I kind of looked at it in this way. My faith is what really kept me going. You reach out for God to give you strength. But, as I did all of those things, and after I lost my daughter at 24 years old, I would always see different things where, other people was losing kids, babies dying before they're born, kids being born with life-threatening illnesses, cancer, and things like that. And that kind of went back to Coach McGuire when I was at Marquette. And one thing that we used to do at Marquette with Coach, and I always respected him tremendously for this, is every year we would go to Children's Hospital. And at that time, Children's Hospital was Humphrey Hall right there on 17th in Wisconsin. And every year during Christmas time, we would go up to Children's Hospital right on campus, and we would see the kids in the cancer ward. And Coach would always say that the next time you feel something is not right in life for you, or somebody is doing something wrong, or things ain't right, remember what you saw with these kids that has life-threatening illnesses, that don't know if they're going to be here tomorrow, but they're smiling, they're living life to the fullest, and they have no worries other than trying to get better, to live a special and single life just like everybody else. And from that experience, to losing my daughter taught me that your faith is very important. But not only that, is anything can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter how great you are. And when those things happen, that's when your faith in God comes in. And I just had a lot of faith in, as the Creator, to get me through it. And as I went through it, he always showed me signs of, it wasn't just happening to me. You had other people that, go through the same things, a lot of worse things. But the thing that always kept me grounded the most through that whole situation is when I used to think about those young individuals that we used to go see when I was in college, that was in Children's Hospital. And I saw those kids that was living life to the fullest and had every reason in the world to give up, but they never gave up. So that's kind of kept me pretty grounded with the whole situation and losing Nikki and having my daughter. And, I still have my good days and my bad days, but, I just always reached out for strength and always asked for him to show me something, to keep me grounded. And that was always, visible for me through things that was happening in the world and around me.
I will defer to Tommy after this last one, and that is, can you think of a time in your life when your faith was the strongest, and also the time when it was, I don't know if weakest is the right word, or where it just was really a tough go?
Well, I think my faith has always been strong. Losing Nikki, at one point, it may have seemed to weaken, but it really made me stronger. It made our family stronger. It made my bond with all my friends and other people that I didn't know very stronger from losing your child and stuff. So it was a very difficult thing, I've always had faith in and gifted, and I guess God has blessed me with I guess thing to be able to see through the bad things, to see on the other side of the fence to where it was going to the brighter side. So tough times when we lost Nikki, but it also pulled us closer together, not only as a family, but with other friends and other different people, and how important others are when you struggle in life. And then I look at it as a calling card is when I had other friends, to lose their child. And, a few years after we lost Nicole, one of my other college teammates, Jerry Holman, lost his son, Luke Holman. And, you do the Jerry Holman Foundation. And I was very close to Luke when I was at Marquette as an assistant coach. I knew Luke as a young kid who used to come to the camp. And when he was 7, 8, and 9 years old, I was his coach. So, I kind of remember Jerry and Patty reaching out to Candy and myself about Luke and, talking about them and, sharing our experience and how we dealt with losing Nikki. So I look at that a blessing for God, and that helped, give some guidance to what I was going to and kept my strength. So, people always used to ask me, how do you deal with it? And, I tell them I'm able to deal with it all the time because I talk about it. People ask me about it. I share it with others. And I think being able to do that made me stronger, and it built my faith, and it showed me that the Creator had more plans for me, not only as an athlete, but as a person, to share my knowledge, with them about, my strategies and struggle as our family dealt with the loss of our daughter.
Pip, it's all yours.
I think we've gone from end line to end line here, Homer. It's absolutely magnificent. Bo, when I look at you, and I've always felt this way, as graceful as you were on the court, there is grace in your life, there is peace. But as Homer said, there are some of us who, why, Lord, if you love me, if you're a great God, why do you take away my heart and my soul? I know that you're aware that Nikki is in heaven, that you'll see her again. You've done so much in her name for the Liver Foundation. I mean, you're Mr. Charity. But how do you speak to somebody who says, all right, it may work for Bo, but I'll never get there?
Well, I just tell them, you just have to believe, and you have to look at all angles and what happened, and like I said before, the thing that worked for me personally is, I looked around me and what was going on in the world, and after losing my child, it seemed like every time I looked up and I was watching something on TV, I saw some type of tragedies and different things that was happening all around the world and was what was happening to other people. So it made me realize that this was not about, me and my family. This is about the way that things happen in the world. And these are tests for you to see, where are you going to go in life after you deal with these type of circumstances. And as the years went on and things started to happen and we were able to, like you say, put together golf outings and keep our daughter's name alive, your faith is tested. But I always looked at what was going on around me, and as I looked around, I was seeing people that were losing kids at birth, 8, 7, 6, 5 years old, kids with terminal cancer, things like that. So I said that, I looked at it as, listen, we had our child for 24 years. And my wife and I used to talk about it all the time as the years would go on. And, we realized we were blessed just to have her for 24 years, in our life. And she had a good life. She did some good things. But I also looked at it as this is something that God put in my life for me to use as a tool to share with others, to share our experience and what we went through with other individuals going through similar things, to help them cope with it and maybe understand, what their calling is in the situation to be able to do for others and share their, insight on, how it works for them to be able to go through those type of things in life.
Pip, you're done.
Nope.
Nope.
Have something
You're done.
else.
We're done. I'm leaving. I'm not adding anything to that. Nope, 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 nope.
I can't wait till you see Nikki again, you and Candy. What a great, joyous celebration it will be for all eternity, Bo.
Oh, we've been blessed, and again, the Creator has been very good to us. He's given us a platform to be able to help others in Nikki's name. So, her name will live forever. And, they say when you die, you're never forgotten. And you see all of the, things on the little cards at the funerals and different things that, we'll walk together forever. And when you're able to do things like that to make a difference in other people's lives and, have a special child and things, and I always felt that things happen for a reason in life. I mean, I lost my father at 47 years old, my junior year of college. I lost my mother at 67 years old. And when I was in college, my dad died my junior year in college. And as I was coming up after that, as I got close to 47 years old, I'd just like to, be able to live, longer than my father. I just asked, the Creator for that. And as I started to get older, I'm like 40, 47. I'm like, I'm still a young man. I like, there's a lot of life, left. And now I'm 66 years old. A new year has just started. I'll be 67, in August. And when my mother passed at 67, I'm saying, dang, my mother was a very young woman also, because I think so. I kind of relate those type of things, to it. But, I just always believe that everything happens for a reason in life. And, I just, I don't know for what reason, my faith or whatever it is, God's calling is taught me that, you use your platform, just like I use my basketball platform, for young people, as far as teaching how I got to where I am, the different things I dealt with, the struggles, sharing my story about being successful, taking care of your schoolwork, being respectful like that. Well, I think he's blessed me with those same type of things, with what happened with Nikki. So all of that stuff is full circle and it comes around and it touches you in a lot of ways for me. I don't know about other individuals. I'm pretty much speaking for myself. My wife probably goes about it a little different, but that's how our faith is. And we spend a lot of time together, talking about it, doing the foundation for the last 13 years. So that makes us really feel good. And every time over the years that I've been able to present a check to students at Marquette, with the Nicole Ellis Foundation, and those young people start to cry because of the monies that's being able to help them get through their struggles. That's what makes me feel good. And we know Nikki is smiling, and when we do all the other things, for people, the Liver Foundation give donations to Wisconsin Variety Club, and to help families in need, and buying coats and just doing different things like that. That's what's important to us, and that makes me feel better than anything that I've ever done in life, is to make people smile and think about the Nicole Ellis Foundation. And I know that makes Nikki smile. And for my wife Candy and for Christina, that's very important to us. And I think that's helped a whole lot, with the last 17 years and coming up on 18 years that Nikki's been gone. She would be, this year she would have turned in November 30th of 2021. This would be her 43rd birthday.
Bo Ellis, you're a beautiful man with a beautiful faith story, and this has been an unforgettable experience for us, and I know anyone who was privileged to see and hear you coming forward. So thank you so much. We love you, and God's blessings to you and the entire Ellis family.
Thank you very much, Tom and Homer, and thank you for giving me a chance to share this story. Never really had a chance to do something like this. I talk about my faith a lot when I'm doing my speaking engagements to young people, but this way, and it's always good to share some stories and with friends that we've been close. And as we get older, we learn different things about each other, and that's the graciousness of the Almighty Creator that He instills in us as people.
Well, we'll be celebrating these moments with you for some time. Thank you, Bo Ellis. This has been My Faith with Homer and Pip. For the great Steve the Homer True and Brent Young, I'm Tom Pippins. He's Bo Ellis, and he is absolutely amazing. God bless you. Thanks, everybody, and see you next time.
Thanks. God's blessings to you all, too.